Mickey's Christmas Carol, based on the classic story A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Mickey's Christmas Carol, based on the classic story A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. One snowy Christmas Eve, one person was not thinking about trees or presents. His name was Ebenezer Scrooge. Scrooge hurried past a group of carolers. "God bless you, sir. Please spare a coin for a poor hungry child," one of them called out. "Bah! Humbug! If the poor want to be rich, let them work as hard as I do," replied Scrooge. With his cane, Scrooge knocked the snow from the sign above his office door. He was thinking about his partner, Jacob Marley, who had passed away 7 years ago that very night. "He was a good one. He robbed the widows and swindled the poor," Scrooge chuckled to himself. Scrooge's clerk, Bob Cratchit, was busily working. "Oh, it's freezing today. Surely Scrooge won't miss one little piece of coal." Caught you! That coal costs a pretty penny, you know," Scrooge shouted, bursting into the room. "I was just trying to thaw my ink," stammered Cratchit. "Bah! You used a piece last week." "Now get back to work, Cratchit," the miserly Scrooge replied. Old Scrooge sat down at his desk and lovingly polished his gold coins until they glowed brightly. He weighed them on the scales and stacked them carefully on the desktop. With a quill pen he scratched figures in an enormous book. Suddenly the door flew open with a bang. "Merry Christmas!" cried Scrooge's nephew, Fred, offering his uncle a wreath and an invite to Christmas dinner. "What's this? Poor Cratchit still working on Christmas Eve? Bah! Humbug! We never close. Now good day to you, sir. There is work to be done," snorted Scrooge, snatching the wreath from Fred and throwing it into the fire. Fred tipped his hat and left, giving Cratchit a look of pity. "Oh, to spend Christmas Day at home," thought Cratchit as he jumped down from his stool. Mind you are in even earlier the day after. And don't forget me dirty laundry," snapped Scrooge. Cratchit nodded and as he snatched up the bag of laundry and shouted, "Merry Christmas," as he left. "Bah!" muttered Scrooge. Scrooge locked up his office and hurried home. "Am I seeing things? No, it couldn't be. Jacob Marley? Is that you?" gasped Scrooge, looking at his door knocker. The face on the door called softly, "Scrooge." Frightened, Scrooge yanked open the door, ran inside, and slammed the door behind him. Scrooge flew up the stairs 3 at a time, but behind him he could hear the sound of chains clanking. Looking over his shoulder, he froze in his tracks. It was the ghost of Marley. Scrooge ran into his bedroom and bolted the door shut. He sank down in his chair. He knew that no door had ever kept a ghost out, although this ghost knocked politely before he floated in. "Scrooge, don't you recognize your old friend? I was your partner, Jacob Marley," asked the ghost. Suddenly, the ghost tripped over Scrooge's cane, knocked over the chair, and then landed in a heap on top of it. A deafening thud shook the room as a heavy chest fell beside them. "The real Jacob Marley was never so clumsy," said Scrooge. "Do not mock me. If I am clumsy, 'tis because of these chains I must always carry with me," boomed the ghost. "What about that chest? Let me take a look," exclaimed Scrooge. Stop! The chest is heavier than all the treasure in the world. All my miserable deeds are locked in here and chained to me forever. I can never be free. I have come to warn you, Scrooge. Change your ways, or you are doomed. Doomed! You will be visited this night by 3 spirits. Listen to them well. Do what they say, for only they can save you now, thundered the ghost. In an instant, Marley was gone. Scrooge quickly pulled on his nightshirt and cap and hopped into bed. A little figure appeared wearing a top hat and holding an umbrella. The hour has come, Mr. Scrooge. There is not a moment to lose, he called. But who are you? Cried Scrooge. I am the ghost of Christmas past. Do as I say, the figure replied. A midget, you do not frighten me, snickered Scrooge. Silence! If men were measured by their kindness, you would be smaller than a grain of sand. Catch hold of me, for we are going back in time when Christmas was not humbug, ordered the spirit. The window flew open, and instantly Scrooge and the spirit of Christmas past soared over rooftops and chimneys, the spirit's red umbrella keeping them afloat. They stopped outside the window of a brightly lit house. It's Isabel. But who is that she is dancing with so merrily? Cried Scrooge, remembering the girl he once loved. That man was you, Scrooge, in the days when you too were kind and cheerful, whispered the spirit. Then the spirit whisked Scrooge away to another scene. The old Scrooge sat behind his desk laden with money, but Isabel was crying. Your greed drove her away, Ebenezer. You were to marry, but you loved only money, said the spirit. But I only wanted us to be happy, to be rich, moaned Scrooge. You left her with nothing, and remember, Scrooge, each of these memories was fashioned yourself, accused the spirit. Suddenly, Scrooge found himself back in bed. There must have been a bad dream, he thought, and then he thought of Isabel and how his love of money had ruined his chance of happiness with the girl he loved. Scrooge was sobbing into his pillow when he felt a heavy hand on his shoulder. I am the ghost of Christmas present, boomed a giant. Oh, please, spare me, cried Scrooge. The giant picked up Scrooge. So this is the Rookus Windows ladies. Money cannot buy happiness, and only my generosity can save you now. Have a grape, why don't you? He chortled. With that, the spirit took an enormous bunch of grapes from his pocket and dropped Scrooge onto it. Scrooge called out for help. I had the power to give you life, but what have you ever given? Let us take a look, said the giant. There is no time to lose, the spirit cried, scooping up Scrooge. He pushed open the roof and stepped out. In seconds, the spirit and Scrooge had arrived at a tiny run-down house. Oh, he's using a lamppost as a flashlight. What a dreadful-looking house, exclaimed Scrooge, looking in the window. There is Bob Cratchit. Does he live here? The spirit scowled. Look how he lives, thanks to your generosity. Look at the food his family will eat this Christmas Eve. The hungry Cratchit family were about to eat the smallest ghost Scrooge had ever seen. That looks more like a canary. What is in that huge pot on the stove? He commented. That's your laundry, said the spirit. A small boy hobbled into the room, leaning on a little crutch. That there is Tiny Tim. He is very sick. He must have good food every day to make him well again. If something is not changed, there was an empty chair where Tiny Tim once sat. When Scrooge stepped back from the window, the spirit had disappeared. A smoky haze hung in the air. Help! Don't leave me! Come back, he called. Suddenly, Scrooge sneezed so hard that he went flying through the air, then landed in soft snow near some tombstones. But Scrooge was no longer alone. A horrible spectre stood silently before him. Scrooge saw what had made him sneeze. A gigantic cigar glowed in the spirit's horrible mouth. Suddenly the spirit spoke. I am the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Who are you looking for in this lonely place? Please, sir, help me find Tiny Tim, begged Scrooge. Very slowly, the spirit raised his hand and pointed to a tombstone. Scrooge looked and saw Bob Cratchit placing Tiny Tim's little crutch on a grave. Tears rolled down Cratchit's face. Scrooge's heart sank. He wanted to say how sorry he was, but suddenly a bell began to toll. Scrooge turned away, tears in his eyes. Then he saw another grave gaping in front of him. Whose lonely grave is this? He asked the ghost of Christmas yet to come. Why, yours, Ebenezer. The richest man in the cemetery, laughed the spirit, lighting another cigar. Oh, please, I'm so sorry. Tell me these events can yet be changed, cried Scrooge. But the spirit just laughed and slapped Scrooge on the back. Help! Screamed Scrooge as he went flying into the pit. As he fell, he remembered all the people he had robbed and swindled in the past. I'll change. I'll change. Let me out. Let me. Suddenly, another bell was ringing. Scrooge opened his eyes and jumped out of bed and ran to the window. The sun shone brightly. It was Christmas morning. But if it's still Christmas morning, what the spirits showed me last night has not yet happened. Tiny Tim still lives, stammered Scrooge. Scrooge threw on his hat and coat and ran outside. Merry Christmas, the carolers called to Scrooge. And a Merry Christmas to you, replied Scrooge as he pushed a gold coins in their hands. Merry Christmas, Fred, Scrooge cried to his nephew. I've no time to stop, but don't start dinner without me. There's just one thing I must do, he said. Fred was so surprised at his uncle's cheerfulness that he nearly fell off his carriage. Scrooge knocked on Bob Cratchit's door with a big brown sack on his back. As you're not working today, I have brought you a sack of dirty laundry. See that it's done today, said Scrooge. Oh, look! Isn't that a teddy bear in Mr. Scrooge's sack? Cried Tiny Tim's sister as Scrooge walked past. Scrooge threw the sack. Open it, he cried. Parcels tied with bright ribbons and bows tumbled from the sack. There are more surprises, children. Look at the Morris goose, and there are chestnuts, and even a Christmas pudding. What a Christmas you shall have! A very Merry Christmas to you all, especially to you, Tiny Tim, he cried. The whole family danced with joy. This was to be the first of many bountiful holidays, for they were to be never poor again. Cratchit was to become Scrooge's new partner, and Tiny Tim wouldn't go hungry and would grow stronger each day. How good is it to be generous and kind, thought Ebenezer Scrooge. God bless us, every one, said Tiny Tim. The end.